Apple Mac.
Ah, super guy.
toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing. Advance Australia fair.
Good to see the youth of Australia getting involved in the anthem there. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Sonia Feldhoff.
And I'm Julian Schiller. We're from ABC Radio Adelaide. We do the breakfast show and it's a pleasure for us to be your hosts tonight here at the Panorama Room at the beautiful Adelaide Convention Centre.
And not the first time you've shared the stage with Rachel McCall, I might say.
Rachel and I are performing in the State Opera's Lucia de Lammermoor tomorrow night if you're opera fans. Of course I'm a principal, she's just a chorus member. But got to work your way up. Look, look, throughout the week, as you all know, each state and territory recognise and celebrate extraordinary achievement throughout the Australian of the Year Awards, just as we are tonight here. You're going to hear stories of courage, of compassion, resilience and hope, and there are stories of everyday Australians who have a real passion for making a difference. So whether you're here with us in the room or you're watching online at australianoftheyear.org.au, you're in for a treat. You're in for a celebration of some incredible people. So please show your support on social media by using the hashtag AusOfTheYear.org.au. So look, these awards, as you are well aware, they shine a spotlight on special people whose contributions they lead us, they inspire us, they make our country a far better place. So welcome to all the nominees tonight, welcome to all your families. We can't wait to hear your stories and acknowledge your achievements.
Now, we're thrilled that all of you are here tonight, but we would like to officially welcome the Governor of South Australia, Her Excellency the Honourable Francis Adamson, AC, the Honourable Peter Malinauskas, Premier of South Australia, the Honourable Chief Justice Chris Kourakis, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of South Australia, representing the Honourable Vincent Tarzia MP, Adrian Pedrick MP, Shadow Assistant Minister to the Leader of the Opposition, parliamentarian representatives I should say, representing the Lord Mayor Dr Jane Lomax-Smith AM, Councillor Carmel Moon, Senior Defence Force representatives, the Deputy Commissioner of SAPOL Linda Williams, Consulate representatives Ms Taryn Brumford, 2023 Australian of the Year, Mr John Foreman, OAM, Chair, and Mr Mark Fraser, Chief Executive Officer and Board members of the National Australia Day Council, Ashley McDonald, Assistant Secretary,
Prime Minister and Cabinet, Mrs Jan Chorley, Chief Executive Officer of the Australia Day Council, South Australia, local government representatives, partners of the Australia Day Council of South
Australia, tonight's 17 nominees, former South Australian of the Year alumni, and lastly, a special acknowledgement to the Australian Government through the National Australia Day Council and the Government of South Australia for supporting these awards and tonight's event. I now turn your attention to our screen for our acknowledgement of country.
Noi tampanti to Willa Berkiana. Noi Tampanti Bamba Balyarendi. Ghana Yurtiana, Martichianga, Ghana Miona. Nai Wangdi, Mani Nai Budni, Ghana Yurtiana. I like to recognise the ancestors. I recognise where we hold in this event is on Ghana country. On behalf of the Ghana people, I welcome you to Ghana country. Warinthi Kamanka. Let's walk together. Natai.
Thank you to Uncle Frank Wanganeen, Vonderlast and to Electric Fields for that beautiful acknowledgement to country. Also Julian Ferraretto for the musical composition.
Now we're about to have a special performance, but before we do that, let's reacquaint ourselves with a quick video of what the Australian of the Year Awards are all about. Every day I drive down Gillis Street, and Gillis Street Primary is always a hive of activity. There is always something going on at that school. So I am so excited to introduce Gillis Street Primary School right now. They're called the Junk Kids, Sonia, and they're performing for us a great song by Sia It's called Cheap Thrills by the Cheap Thrills.
And we're
by
going
CO.
to get off the stage because it's a workplace health and safety issue here.
Bamboozled by the way you led me on to think that maybe I could be the one. And baby, I thought you would hold together for forever, but your heart's been changing like the weather. Let my head fall over my high heels, and you're acting like it's no big deal. Then you say that we were daydreaming. I can't even believe you're asking why I'm leaving.
Tell you what, when I was at school, I would have loved a performing arts teacher like Michael Aquilina. Congratulate the Gilly Street Junk Kids and Michael Aquilina, their teacher, for that lovely performance. It's a little bit karate. I'll never look at a pool noodle the same way again, but congratulations, guys. You did a great job. Thank you. Now, I'd now like to introduce to the stage someone who does a lot of work for this evening and throughout the year. You all know of her. She is the CEO of the Australia Day Council of South Australia, Mrs. Jan Chorley. Jan.
I tell you what, if we need a bit of hope, wasn't that hope? Weren't they amazing? I also want to thank the St Aloysius wonderful jazz band too, who are incredible. Let's give them a hand. It's absolutely wonderful to see you all tonight, and I'd really like to acknowledge that we're meeting tonight on the land of the Kaurna peoples of the Adelaide Plains. And may we tread gently on this great land and always seek to extend that respect to their descendants who are here with us tonight. Good evening, and on behalf of the Australia Day Council of South Australia, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. And we are especially, as you know, gathering to honour the 2025 Australian of the Year nominees. Our MC has acknowledged our many distinguished guests and previous award recipients, so I simply would like to acknowledge our patron, Her Excellency the Honourable Francis Adamson AC, Governor of South Australia, and Mr Bunton for your unwavering support to our organisation. It's just extraordinary and we're deeply grateful. Also the Honourable Premier Peter Malinauskas, MP, Premier of South Australia, and the same to you, Premier, for all your incredible support to our work, not only in Adelaide but across the state. But tonight is about our nominees. Tonight you are our very honoured guest. Accompanied by your family and your friends, and we welcome you especially. We all have a genuine love of Australia. Not only is it the home of the oldest living cultures in the world, we often describe ourselves as a generous, innovative, open and compassionate society. But like any society though, we too have shortcomings. We have our own. And that is why we have nominees like the ones in the room tonight who tackle these issues based on compelling evidence and at times honest reckoning of our past. The Australian of the Year often highlight the gap between the promise of our nation and the realities. They passionately advocate for and define the gap between the promise and the realities, and point us, importantly, to what the future may hold. And tonight we recognise we are living in extraordinary and complex times, and whether we're ready or not, these changes are upon us. The leadership acknowledged through these awards, however, brings us courage, hope, and at times transformational change. And 3 Australians of the Year are testament to this. South Australia's very own Taryn Brumfitt AM, a body image advocate, continues to share the drumbeat for young people not feeling good about their bodies and galvanises us to pay attention to this very significant issue. Dylan Alcott, AO, ensures we understand and passionately advocates for people living with disabilities and seeks a greater transformation so no person with a disability is left behind. Professor Patrick McGorry, AO, focused his award narrative on the need for a whole reimagining and redesign of the service delivery in mental health. Our current Australians of the Year are leading the nation and world leaders in relation to melanoma research and outcomes for patients living with melanoma. Further, in our own state, Tiani Adamson, the 2024 Young Australian of the Year, in a recent interview with a very prominent climate academic, stated that a child born today will go through 7 times more heat waves than a child born in the 1960s, 7 more. We also know that this definitive statement will mostly affect the poor and marginalised in Australia, but also our closest neighbours in the Pacific. Tim Jarvis, AM, South Australian of the Year, tells us we need to restore biodiversity. We cannot address climate change without biodiversity as a key ally in the fight to tackle these environmental challenges. We would like to sincerely thank the 2024 South Australians of the Year for the leadership each of you have shown across the state and in some cases the nation this year. Tim Jarvis, AM, and Tiani Adamson, and Sister Meredith Evans and Rachel Zoltran, OAM, who relentlessly show up for others. You truly reflect the very best of our people, and I'm sure you would like to join me in acknowledging them. Thank you. And to the 2025 nominees, it's a privilege to recognise you tonight. People who have shown conviction to addressing social disadvantage, to pushing the boundaries of new frontiers and examining horizons not yet imagined Each of you demonstrates that an act of citizens, there is nothing more satisfying than giving our all to a cause. Our thanks must also go to the Australia Day Council of South Australia's valued supporters and collaborators, our sponsors, corporate partners, members and volunteers, and our funding partners, which we couldn't do any of this without you. The South Australian Department of Premier and Cabinet, also the National Australia Day Council and also the City of Adelaide. Very important to us in our work. We also thank local government for the significant role you play every day in building resilient and cohesive communities. Social cohesion is probably one of the most important, it's more important than ever that we look to an even more complex future globally and across our nation, so this work is vital. To our board members and our passionate team at the Australia Day Council, and they certainly are, they work so hard every day for the state and to create beautiful events like tonight. We thank you for your hard work that maintains the highest standards across the year as we build and celebrate this great state and nation. And finally, to our 2025 nominees, congratulations on becoming a finalist in the Australian of the Year Awards and for your contributions to our communities and our state. We hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Jan. Now, this year we've received thousands of nominations from the public, nominating someone who inspires them. After a very difficult shortlisting process, the 17 incredible nominees here tonight were selected by a diverse panel of representatives from across South Australia. Our nominees range from volunteers to professionals to local community members to fearless advocates. They each have their own pathways and motivations. All I can say is get ready to be inspired. Now, one recipient will be announced in each of the 4 categories: Australia's Local Hero, Young Australian of the Year, Senior Australian of the Year, and the Australian of the Year. Those 4 recipients will then join the other state and territory recipients at the National Awards on the eve of Australia Day, with the Prime Minister revealing the national recipients live on ABC. Our nominees are already legends in Australia's eyes, and we thank them for their contribution. Thank you so much. Please join me in giving them all a round of applause. I now invite our patron, the Governor of South Australia, Her Excellency the Honourable Frances Adamson AC, to share some words and remain on stage with us to present the first 2 awards for the evening. Please welcome Her Excellency.
Gana Bogana Alia, Gana Miana Alia, Yaichimina Alia, Kumitana Yartananku, Yatuna Tampani, Gana Miana, Yaichiata Matana, Pukininanku, Yalaka, Takaricha. I acknowledge and pay my respects to Aboriginal people here this evening, whether from Kaurna country or other lands and regions. And I also acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, from the past, today, and in the future. The Honourable Peter Malinauskas, Premier of South Australia, the Honourable Chief Justice Chris Kourakis, Chief Justice Supreme Court of South Australia, Members of Parliament, representatives of the Defence Force and Emergency Services, senior public servants, diplomatic representatives, National Australia Day Council and Australia Day Council of South Australia representatives and ambassadors, winners of the 2024 Australian of the Year for South Australia Awards, previous years too. Wonderful to see. I don't know how far we go back, but I know there are a lot of you here, which I think speaks to your commitment, what you've achieved and how much this, I can see nods all over the place, how big a thing this is for all of you. Local government representatives, leaders of sport and recreation, philanthropic, multicultural industry, Aboriginal reconciliation, ageing, community, health, arts, youth, education, and leadership organisations, friends all. Rod and I are delighted to join you this evening to celebrate the nominees for the Australian of the Year Awards. Their achievements are wide-ranging, but they all speak to the character of South Australians. They highlight our determination and willingness to step up, our care for others and a deep commitment to innovative solutions. They remind us that people from all walks of life are making an extraordinary impact on our communities, our state, and our nation. So to the nominees, congratulations. You are here because people are rightly proud of you and the contribution you make. However, it's not been an easy journey for you, not for any of you, I think. You've taken risks, you've stepped up, but I expect you also know what it feels like to stumble from time to time. You also know how to keep at it, be it in your community, in your field of endeavour, or through your efforts to lead change. Put simply, you are role models who embody values that we hold dear as a nation. Despite that, you are often quiet achievers, unsung heroes, whose work is largely unseen by many in the community. But your nomination makes the invisible visible. It also puts a powerful spotlight on the causes you care so deeply about. Friends, I applaud all the nominees and those who've helped them at so many points in the journeys that have led them here. As patron of the Australia Day Council of South Australia, I also recognise its members for their dedicated efforts and stewardship of these awards. I'm grateful for the important contribution you make to our state and for the commitment shown by council supporters and sponsors. I speak for so many South Australians when I conclude by saying to the nominees, we see you and the contribution you are making. We thank you for it, and we are inspired by you and your efforts. Your work is often deeply transformational, improving our state, strengthening our future, and changing lives for the better. I thank you again, and I congratulate all the nominees and wish the South Australian winners, soon to be revealed, the best of luck in the National Awards. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your inspiring words and your support as always. Well, let's move to the awards. Our first 2025 Australian of the Year Awards in South Australia is the category of Local Hero, which recognises Australians for making a significant commitment in their local community. Let's learn some more about this category, which is supported by the Department of Home Affairs.
Our local heroes are everyday Australians doing amazing things in their local communities. They represent what's great about communities. They keep their communities strong and they are the fabric of our society.
They'll tell you when we open our doors to our neighbours, we open our hearts and we give ourselves the chance to rejoice with others, to learn from them.
Rural people are worth fighting for because they get up and they show up in fire and flood and droughts and plagues and pandemics, and they put food on the nation's table. So the least we can do as a nation is make sure that they're getting support when they look for it.
Hey, it's Tony Burke, the Minister for Home Affairs. I just want to tell you why it's so important that we sponsor the Local Heroes Award. This award, people don't compete for it. People just do what they do. And I love when we recognise people who never sought recognition. There are people who are local heroes because they just very humbly go out and do jobs every day that show leadership through their work. There are people who are local heroes because they stand up for people who, when no one else is standing up for them. There are people who are local heroes because in a moment of crisis, they just step up without thinking about themselves and just helping others. But most importantly, everybody being awarded today did it because of their love of their community, the love of their country, love of the people you are helping. And that is worthy of recognition.
The award not only acknowledges work done so far, but gives encouragement to continue, and that's important.
It's not easy to just sit around and talk about the problems. I urge everyone, be kind and respectful. You too can be part of the change of the solution.
Building a world-class natural history museum is a multi-million-dollar investment. But my question to everyone here is, what is our continent worth? what is the education of our children worth? Australia's future is inextricably linked to its past, and our children are its future custodians. The more they understand it, the better they will care for it. To me, nothing is more important.
Yes, we all need our local heroes. I'd now like to invite Rachel Zoltran, OAM, South Australia's 2024 Local Hero recipient, to join us on the stage. Rachel. Rachel does some great work with Backpack for Kids. I've been out there, I've met the volunteers, I've seen some of the great work they do. Congratulations again on being last year's recipient, Rachel. As you reflect back on the year, what are some of the things that it's really meant to you?
Yeah, look, one of the things we spoke about last year is about the worth of our kids, making sure people learn about it, making sure people realise that our kids, that was a record again. I'm not looking at Her Excellency. About knowing that our kids are worth it, because that is the consequence of crisis and trauma, is that our kids don't know that they're worth it. So imagine our kids in crisis and having adults and the opportunity that we've had this year where we've been able to have thousands of people because of this award, and hearing so many of them come up and go, I was one of those kids. I'm a kid that thrived despite not knowing that they're worth it. So we have been amazing in our community. Backpacks for SA Kids has this year acknowledged that we've supported just over 100,000 kids with our programs. It is absolutely incredible, but I still don't think I've gotten through a speech without crying. And the reality is we're talking more, and we're having more and more people come and talk to us at the end of these presentations going, I was this kid, and you're sharing my story. So thank you for helping us raise awareness about the worthiness of our kids, but please make sure that we talk about where we're going in the future, because 100,000 now, we've still got hundreds of thousands of kids left to go. And without a warehouse for Backpacks for SA Kids, in a year and a half, we're not going to be here. Someone has to do it. So we're going to make sure that we secure that warehouse, but we need to keep talking. We need to keep telling people that we're proud of them no matter what. So thank you so much for the opportunity for this year. It's been incredible.
Thank you, Rachel. And all the volunteers at Backpack for Kids SA, they do a sensational job. Well, let's move on to this year's nominees. Here are the 2025 nominees for South Australian Local Hero.
Sobia and Irfan Hashmi have transformed healthcare in remote areas of South Australia. They've mentored countless pharmacists from overseas and employ staff who collectively speak 21 languages. This allows them to provide multilingual education and outreach and culturally sensitive healthcare. Their commitment to public health and the wider needs of South Australia's diverse communities has vastly improved health, employment and immigrant outcomes. Shane Hyhorek is a passionate force for change for people with disabilities. In 2007, Shane broke his neck, and knowing life was changed forever, turned his entrepreneurial eye to developing both a business and a not-for-profit organisation to help improve equality for people with disabilities. He uses his experience, determination and humour to educate society about inclusivity and improve accessibility for all. Lisa O'Malley has been a foster carer in more than 200 placements for children, through which she recognised the need for greater support for carers, as well as the children in care. The co-founder of the Carer Project, a volunteer-run organisation that supports carers in South Australia, Lisa has offered countless hours of hands-on family support and used her experience to create meaningful change in the foster sector. Through her own struggles with maternal mental health, Dina Thomasette learned the true value of a village in raising mothers and children. She founded Villagehood Australia, a registered charity providing a range of programs encompassing professional and peer support for new mothers. Dina works tirelessly to empower her community and break mental health stigma, transforming the lives of new mothers and their children.
If all the nominees could please come to the side of the stage. What a wonderful set of nominees we had this year. Now it is a job for Her Excellency, Your Excellency I should say, to invite the nominees onto the stage and present them with a certificate. Firstly, Sabia and Irfan Hashmi. Shane Hihorek. Lisa O'Malley. Dina Thomaset.
And they've trusted us with the envelopes here, Jules. Here it is.
All right, I've never done this before. I've seen people do it. I've seen people actually make mistakes doing it. So hopefully this is correct. But look, all the recipients were so worthy of this. But the recipient for this year, the 2025 Local Hero for South Australia, recipients, I should say, Sabia and Irfan Hashmi. Congratulations, guys.
Yep. Sophia and Irfan. Please come and make your way to the lectern. We'd love to have a few words with you if possible, please. Thank you so much and congratulations to you both. Now, 20 years ago, healthcare in our regions looked a whole lot different than it does now. What did it look like and why did you want to change it? Sabia, you want to start?
I think that the first job, I should acknowledge the guests and thank you so much for this. I'm actually overwhelmed. Okay, my story started, I guess, I was actually thinking while I was sitting, what was a game changer for me when I came to Australia? So probably a trip from Adelaide to Darwin was a game changer for us because in that trip we came to know that there were towns that have no pharmacies. So we went through Kubapiri, we went through other towns that didn't have any structure of proper pharmacy services in those towns. So that was probably a game changer for us.
Yeah.
So that's how we came to know that all these towns remotely do not have the proper pharmacy services there. So the pharmacies, even if there are depots, there's no proper pharmacists who are there to counsel people when they need prescriptions. And all the people were relying on post at that time. So we were driving up to Darwin, so that was a long drive for us, but yeah, it's changed our lives and so many people's lives.
Yeah, and you certainly have impacted so many people. Irfan, when it comes to you're looking after the whole community, but particularly diverse communities, what are some of the extra challenges they face on top of every other Australian?
Good evening. As an immigrant to this country, I came to Australia 23 years ago. At that time, I realized that there's a
support, which probably more needed for people like coming from overseas. So I found that when I come to a stage where I can help others with my expertise, so I just did that during my preceptorship, where I actually help those pharmacists, especially who were looking for role internship. So I actually started that role, and later on in the COVID time, I just took out my pharmacy to a lot of multicultural groups here, where we actually engage our, multilingual speaking pharmacist or about team members who can speak their language, which make a huge contribution and make it easy for them to understand the health message from a community pharmacist. So I just realized that multicultural engagement is very, very important as a pharmacist, and I just did that again and again, and I'm very proud of that.
And you've done it incredibly well. Finally, is there still more to do? I imagine there is. What would you like to see the future
I'm holding this
looking like?
Beautiful recognition in front of all the dignitaries that will give me a fuel to do more, and I will go forward to do a lot of the webinars that we do for pharmacists to get them ready to workforce, especially in our regional workforce, where we all cry for workforce. And that is my another passion, and sports is another passion, to connect more people.
Well, you're very worthy recipients. Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for Sophia and Irfan Hashmi, your 2025 local heroes. Now on to the Young Australian of the Year category, supported by the Australian Government Office for Youth. Now, this award was introduced in 1979 and recognises inspiring young Australians aged between 16 and 30 years of age who have already accomplished great things. Let's hear more about our Young South Australian category from some past recipients.
When you look at the Young Australians of the Year, we're all reminded that our future is in really good hands.
I've been given an opportunity in such a beautiful country to be myself, and for me the most important thing is to help the next generation and also inspire them to be themselves and follow their dreams.
We have the power to shape the future and make Australia a place where we're all proud, where we all belong, and where we stand united.
I'm beyond proud to congratulate you as our exceptional state and territory finalists for the 2025 Young Australians of the Year. Now, as Minister for Youth, I'm honoured to support and sponsor the Young Australian of the Year program, shining a light on the wonderful achievements of young people right across the country. Each of you are leading examples to your peers, your communities, and the entire country, creating a better and brighter future. You are each being recognised for your incredible achievements, demonstrating the extraordinary things young Australians can accomplish. Now, I can't wait to see the incredible contributions you will make next, and I wish you nothing but success.
The Young Australians of the Year have a really impressive energy and a drive to make Australia a better place.
I simply couldn't live with myself, knowing that there were Australians suffering from medical conditions that could be treated.
It is still crazy to me that I've done what I have in sport, and I want young kids to know that I was once in the same position that they are now, hoping and dreaming of one day of doing something big. I want to have an impact on people's lives by encouraging them to push hard and go after their dreams and what they're passionate about.
Well, I think you'll agree that with the future in the hands of these people, we are in very good hands. Now, Tiani Adamson, our 2024 Young South Australian of the Year, is overseas for work tonight, and so not able to join us here. Anyone who's met her knows she's an absolute firecracker and absolutely encourages you to share her passion. So she has recorded a video message for the next recipient of the Young Australian of the Year Awards.
Couple Kabil, good evening everybody, and congratulations to the 2025 Young Australian of the Year. It's an absolute honour and a massive privilege to be awarded with this award, and I hope that you're feeling really, really proud of yourself and really excited for the time ahead. I'm Tiani. I was the recipient, lucky enough to be the recipient of the 2024 Young Australian of the Year, and it's such an honour and a privilege to pass this on to you for this next year of excitement, growth and experience. I thought I had a busy life before the award, and things have definitely gotten even busier by then, but utilise this year as an amazing opportunity to expand your networks, to really be strategic and think about what you want to do and the impact that you want to have, and make sure that you're looking after yourself, that you're having time to feel really proud and really inspired, and to nurture yourself and your own well-being. Spend time in nature and get outside and look after you and your family, your friends, and enjoy this experience. I hope that you feel really honoured. It's a pretty incredible experience that you've got ahead of you, and it's such an honour to be able to pass this on to you for this next period of your life. So all the best. Have the most wonderful experience. I wish I could be there with you all tonight, but I'm currently in the United States with the US Embassy, lifting up the voices of women in STEM globally, which I'm really excited about. So off to America and having a really nice trip, and there's so many incredible things that can come from this beautiful opportunity. So enjoy, and sorry that I couldn't be there, and I look forward to meeting you when I get back soon. Eso, thank you.
Thank you very much to Tiani. Wonderful example of our youth. Well, let's hear the achievements so far for our nominees for the 2025 South Australian Young Australian of the Year Award.
Amber Brock-Fable is the founder of the South Australian Youth Forum, driving conversations with other young people to use their voices to advocate for change. She's represented youth at conferences around topics such as climate change, coercive control and period poverty, and is ensuring young people's voices are heard by policymakers when it comes to decisions that affect their generation. After witnessing the effects of climate change in his childhood home in far north South Australia, Year 12 student Denzel James became a climate champion. He's now a young ambassador with UNICEF Australia and is a member of the South Australian Student Representative Council. In these roles, he advocates for the empowerment of young people and climate change management. Andriana Petrakis, who has autism, is a top-ranked international tennis player. She generously shares her story with other young people to inspire and support those with intellectual disabilities. On top of being an assistant tennis coach with Tennis SA and a public speaker, Andriana is currently ranked 5th in the world and 2nd in Australia in her sporting category. She might be only 19, but Kushi Venkatesh already stands behind her belief that everyone should have a voice, and she's proving it by using hers. Kushi is a reporter with Behind the News. She's built a social media following for her engaging, funny and down-to-earth content. She's also an award-winning comedian and starred in the Brown Women comedy tour.
Oh, wonderful examples. And as Her Excellency makes her way to the stage to present each nominee with their certificate, let's welcome them to the stage. First up, Amber Brock-Fable. Denzel James. Andriana Petrakis. And Kushi Venkatesh. you've met them all. And now it's time, Jules, to announce the recipient of the Young Australian of the Year. The 2025 Young Australian of the Year for South Australia is Amber Brock-Fable.
Congratulations, Amber. Amber, congratulations.
Thank you.
On being the recipient of this year's awards. I can see how overcome you are. It's an amazing achievement. Tell us about the South Australian Youth Forum and why you started it, Amber.
Yes, thank you so much. Firstly, I just want to say how privileged I am to be here tonight. I walked in feeling like I already won, being nominated by such beautiful community members and being surrounded by incredible people for my whole life, and to be awarded as a nominee with my amazing fellow young people. So yes, the South Australian Youth Forum, I created it when I was 17, back in 2022, and it's an opportunity for young people to connect, and we create a community of like-minded individuals. We aim to bridge the gap between young people and decision makers, whilst also providing a space for connection. Young people are the loneliest demographic in Australia, and I really want to provide that accessible and free space for them.
So when you say you're to bridge that gap, I remember I started in the media, someone says, Jules, no one wants to hear your opinions until you're over 40. And they still don't want to hear my opinions, by the way. But there is this kind of almost cultural backlash that if you're young and you have a strong opinion where it's on climate, where it's loneliness, mental health, that people will often push back. Is that something that you're trying to achieve, to make young voices be heard and taken seriously?
Yes, definitely. And I started when I was 17, so when I couldn't vote myself, and I really wanted that voice, that connection in the democracy that we have and that we're so beautifully privileged to have in Australia as well, and just a space where we can have these conversations that are really big and I guess debrief such big conversations that are happening in the world and the media as well. So it's definitely a challenge that is there, but I really aim to bridge it, yes.
We know the immense challenge that people of your generation have in tackling climate change, but youth loneliness is something I don't think many of us have delved into that deeply. What do you mean by that, Amber?
Yes, it's a growing topic, definitely, and it's definitely such a growing topic since the global pandemic as well. We're lucky enough to do a study at the moment with Flinders University into the impacts of youth loneliness and the environment in general on young people. We are seeing less and less of that third space for young people, where it's neighbourhoods, sporting communities or other places outside of school and the home. I really want to create that space for connection, community and meeting other like-minded young people.
Well, Amber, join me in congratulating Amber again. Well done, Amber. Amber Brock-Fable, the 2025 South Australian Young Australian of the Year, Sonia. And also, can we please have a round of applause for our patron, the Governor of South Australia, Her Excellency, the Honourable Frances Adamson AC, for your generous support in presenting the two awards as well this evening. Now, Sonia, we're about to have a musical performance, I believe. We're sort of pausing for half-time.
We've been having some amazing winners so far, haven't we? Or recipients, I should say, in relation to the Australian of the Year awards. They've been great already. I can't wait to see what's going to happen for our final two awards this evening. Senior Australian of the Year, of course, for South Australia, and Australian of the Year.
Yes, now, I'll introduce our musical act. Jordan Lennon is on the vocals. We've got Danny Lepresto as well, and Daniel Macevic. They're going to perform one of my favourite songs, actually, and very fitting for tonight, Great Southern Land. Over to you guys. Woo.
endless ocean, standing like a runaway lost at sea. Sitting on a rainy day down in the harbor, watching as a grey cloud shadow the bay. Looking everywhere cause I had to find you. This is not the way that I remember here. Anyone will tell you it's a prisoner island, hidden in the summer for a million years. Great southern land. Burned you black. You look into the land and it'll tell you a story about a journey ended long ago. Listen to the motion of the wind in the mountains. Maybe you can hear them talking like I do. They're gonna betray you, they're gonna forget you. Are you gonna let them take you on the weather away? Great southern land, great southern land. You walk alone like a primitive man, and they make it work with sticks and bones. See their hungry eyes, it's a hungry home. I hear the sound of the strangers' voices. I see their hungry eyes, their hungry eyes. Great southern land, great southern land. They burned you black, back against the ground. Standing at the limit of an endless ocean, standing like a runaway lost at sea. Sitting on a rainy day down in the harbor, watching as the grey cloud shadow the bay. Looking everywhere cause I had to find you. This is not the way that I remember here. Anyone will tell you it's a prisoner island, hidden in the summer for a million years. Great southern land, in the sleeping sun. You walk alone with the ghost of time, where they burned you black, black against the ground, and they made it work with rocks and sand. I hear the sound of the strangers' voices. I see the hungry eyes, their hungry eyes. Great southern land, great southern land. You walk alone like a primitive man. You walk alone with the ghost of time. They burned you black, yeah, they burned you black. Great southern land, great southern land. Great southern land, great southern land.
Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking Jordan, Danny and Daniel for that performance. Thanks so much, guys. Well, it's time to invite the Honourable Peter Malinauskas, MP, the Premier of South Australia, to the stage to say a few words, and we're going to put him to work as well to present the final 2 awards of the evening. I don't think it's too hard work honouring great South Australians, so this is fantastic. Please put your hands together for the Premier, Peter Malinauskas.
To Your Excellency, Adrian Pederick, representing the Leader of the Opposition, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, to Jan and the team from the Australia Day Council, ladies and gentlemen, one and all. I think we all feel exceptionally lucky in our own right for various reasons. When I occasionally reflect on that, one of the things that comes to mind is how lucky to live where I do quite specifically. My local electorate is the seat of Croydon, and that's in the inner western suburbs of Adelaide. Parts of it aren't too far from where we are now. And if you speak to any MP, they'll tell you what makes their electorate unique, and they've all got good reasons. For me, what makes my community so unique is that 49% of all the people that I live surrounded by have English as a second language. Think about that. 49% of 25,000 people have English as a second language. It is the United Nations. I kid you not. And my last name is Lithuanian. But despite that, all the Greeks think I'm Greek still. The Chief Justice probably knows I'm not Greek, but it's amazing. It's amazing. And but what that does, it provides an entree and I guess a window into the experience of people who have come to this country from other parts of the world. Often from experiences of relative adversity. And I can say that without qualification, they tend to be the people that speak to me most around how lucky we are. People who haven't been born into such extraordinary privilege as most of us have been. If you actually look at it and think about it, notwithstanding the challenges that we've got as a country and the difficult circumstances that many Australians have, particularly at the moment in terms of a cost of living crisis, but if you just pan up for a moment and think about it, here we are, this island continent, all to ourselves, abundant in resources, natural resources, abundant in diversity of geography, exceptionally beautiful in that diversity, and all sharing it amongst one of the smallest populations of any substantial Western or OECD country, 27 million odd people. It is incredible. It is totally unique. And it is hardly surprising that that has delivered us one of the best standards of living anywhere in the world, regardless of what metric you use. And if you think about that and stop and look at the list of countries that are comparable to us in terms of GDP per capita, with a couple of exceptions, almost every single one of those countries is a liberal democracy. And then when we think about liberal democracy, we would be right to reflect on the fact that at the moment it feels like there's a few challenges, that we see polarisation on the rise, a sense of people being torn apart rather than brought together. But that's laid mainly on our television sets in other parts of the world. I don't think, while there's signs of it, I don't think that is necessarily true in Australia. Our democracy is relatively healthy. And when we think about why that is, I think it comes down to two things. One, I think institutionally, our institutions are in a relatively good position, but the second is a set of values. And values like a real common sense of egalitarianism, a care for one another, an empathy for one another, I think there is generosity in the hearts of almost all Australians towards their fellow man and woman. And those values are precious. That's what sets us apart. That's what makes it different. That's what makes us the truly exceptional, lucky country that wouldn't have us choose to live anywhere else. But to cultivate that culture and that set of values, it requires leadership. It requires people to go above and beyond, people to really set the example where others don't, people who feel called to action to do good for others. And that's what these awards celebrate tonight. And every time I've had the privilege of coming to one of these events, I normally walk in rushed and hurried from whatever has been going on and walk away utterly optimistic and hopeful about the future of our country and the fact that those values and that culture has every prospect of being passed on to future generations because of the leaders that go out of their way to give for others with no sort of pursuit of recognition for themselves. And it's that humility, that trait that is particularly Australian and what we celebrate tonight. And to everyone that has been nominated, particularly the winners, I just want to thank you for making our country the amazing place it is.
Thank you, Prem. Yes, we are fortunate indeed. Well, let's keep the awards moving along. And the next award is for the Senior Australian of the Year. Now, the Department of Health and Aged Care is a category partner for our next award, the South Australian Senior Australian of the Year. The award celebrates those Australians over 65 who continue to achieve and make a difference. So let's learn a little bit about our seniors in this year's category.
The Senior Australian of the Year award is an award that really carries a lot of respect because it's a reflection of many decades of work by the recipient.
Here in Australia, we are fortunate to be the home of the oldest continuing surviving cultures in the world. This is something we should be proud of and we should celebrate.
I pray that all people in our wonderful country, Australia, regardless of language, culture, skin colour or religious belief, may stand tall as proud Australians.
The Senior Australian of the Year award recognises and celebrates the incredible achievements of older Australians around the country. As the Minister for Aged Care, I want to congratulate all of you on being nominated. Ageing well means staying healthy and connecting with community. Improving the lives of others shows your continued passion and commitment to living well. I wish you all the best in the finals, but importantly, I want to acknowledge that every one of you should be proud of your continued achievements. You are an inspiration to all of us, and your legacies will benefit the nation for generations to come.
The Senior Australians of the Year are inspirational not only to other senior Australians, but to all Australians, and particularly to the younger generations coming through.
Bystander first aid is proven to prevent death in those vital minutes before an ambulance arrives.
We need equal rights, including fundings, services and resources, so we can work side by side and support each other. And together we can share new ideas to heal our nation. Let all stand up and work together. Thank you.
Get to this year's nominees. I would now like to invite our 2024 South Australian Senior Australian of the Year, Sister Meredith Evans, to join us on stage as well. Thank you, Sister. Thanks for joining us again, Sister Meredith Evans. It's been a year that you've been the recipient of the award. How's it been? I know you do so much work for refugees and so much work in our community. How have you reflected upon it?
Well, I think Peter Malinauskas has read my mind. I don't think I need to say too much more, but I just wanted to say a couple of words. One is that it's been an amazing year for me as a Senior South Australian of the Year for 2024. I've had the joy and privilege of meeting many women and men who are volunteering their time, energy, expertise to reach out to support and assist so many South Australians. For myself, I've continued to advocate for refugees, individuals and families seeking to start life again in South Australia. I'm constantly taken back by people's resilience, perseverance and a desire to call Australia home. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, a young woman said to me, "Meredith, I've been 14 years here in South Australia. It's the only home I know, but I have not got any sense that we are going to be able to stay here permanently." And I was very saddened by that comment that she made, because I thought, well, we can do better than this. Through being Senior South Australian of the Year, I've been able to advocate to politicians both at the state and federal level and in other community organisations on behalf of so many people who are in the same situation as that young woman I just mentioned. These are people on short-term visas, 6 months or 3 months, who do not have, some of them do not have access to Centrelink or do not have access to higher education. And I think we can do better than that. I think that we can give people a chance to really belong to our country that Peter describes in such beautiful language. So I keep going with the work I've been doing over the 8-10 years with refugees, and I felt very privileged that this award has given me the opportunity to continue the advocacy work that I've started so many years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Meredith Evans. Okay, with a lifetime of service and success, let's hear some of the stories of this year's nominees for the 2025 South Australian Senior Australian of the Year Award.
Anne Burgess AM is busting the myths of ageism. As the chair of multiple councils and boards, Anne's made a significant contribution to community conversations and policy reform. She's challenged assumptions on ageing at both a community and systemic level, and with decades of experience in social justice, is ensuring the voices and experiences of older Australians are valued. Since the 1970s, Dr Devinder Grayval has been providing medical care to regional Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia. He's delivered hundreds of babies, performed countless minor surgeries and supervised hundreds of young doctors, not to mention recruiting tens of doctors into communities which had no medical staff at all. And at 82, he's only just reduced his on-call hours. For more than half a century, Charles Jackson OAM has been working for and with the Indigenous people of Australia. He's been many things in his life: drover, cultural awareness teacher, JP and board member. But each job has been about supporting the communities underserved. Charles has just started his own business, which will provide culturally appropriate training and support for people living with impairments. Keith Preston is a puppeteer, artist, musician, writer, producer, director and arts manager, and he's written 2 hit shows for Adelaide Fringe. He's also a dedicated advocate for tradition and multiculturalism in the arts. Keith has staged hundreds of events that bring together young people, Indigenous Australians, traditional performers and artists from migrant and refugee backgrounds to share their art, traditions and stories.
Premier will now present each one of them with their certificate. First off, can we please welcome to the stage and congratulate Anne Burgess AM. Thank you. Now we know our next nominee is a very busy worker, Dr. Devinder Grewal. So accepting the certificate tonight for Devinder is his daughter, Kieran Burns. Next up, Charles Jackson OAM. Charles. And finally, our last nominee for South Australian Senior Australian of the Year is Keith Preston. All right, it is envelope time, Sonia.
Time for the recipient.
The winner of this year's South Australian Senior Citizen of the Year award, the recipient is Charles Jackson. Congratulations, Charles.
Charles, come and join us at the lectern for a few words. Congratulations. What does it mean to you to be the recipient of the Senior Australian of the Year Awards? What are you thinking right now?
Well, I think it means much more better than receiving the OAM.
Really?
Why is that? Because I'm representing South Australia as a senior.
You've been doing your thing for more than 50 years in so many different areas. What keeps driving you?
The previous Senior Elder of the Year indicated that what inspires people like myself is advocating for the vulnerable in our communities. And I believe that I still got a lot to offer, and that's exactly what I'd like to do.
Do you remember what first gave you that drive to represent those who are underrepresented or underserved in our community?
I think it started around about, say, back there in 1982. Gavin Keneally, who was the local member for Stewart, and the late Laurie Wallace as well, who was the member for Grey. They were good friends of mine, but they were good mentors too as well.
I think Stuart's up for grabs. Do you want to go?
I've got to talk to the Premier, possibly. Yeah. But no, they've inspired me to be able to stand up and do work for the community. So.
Yeah. Now you're not stopping now. I know that you've got a new business venture underway. You're also working in your beloved Flinders Ranges to secure heritage listing for Wilpena Pound. Why is that so important for you?
Well, I think there's a lot we can do for our community, and to be able to bridge the gaps between all different sectors in our communities. And the referendum last year actually had an enormous amount of impact on the First Nations people. Mm. And one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to talk to the Premier and also the Prime Ministers and so on, and see how we can maybe think of something, a different model to be able to bring bridge the gaps among the First Nation people and the broader community.
Well, you've got the drive, you've got the abilities. Thank you so much. Please congratulate Charles Jackson, Senior Australian of the Year for South Australia for 2025. Okay, well, our final category for this evening is, of course, the 2025 South Australian Australian of the Year award. The Australian of the Year category celebrates the achievements and contributions of eminent Australians who are role models for us all. As you know, we've had some dynamic past recipients, and what's really great is that they come from such different sectors and backgrounds. Let's remind ourselves of just some of them.
I think we can all really aspire to be like the Australians of the Year. The Australians of the Year really help to shape our nation as we move into the future, which is why we should be so grateful for their ongoing work.
We have to have greater representation of people with a disability absolutely everywhere. In our boardrooms, in our parliaments, in our mainstream schools, on our dating apps, on our sporting fields, in our universities, absolutely everywhere.
If I can make a difference to someone else's life, if they can draw some strength by hearing what I say and knowing that I'm speaking on their behalf, it gives me a lot of hope.
I'm going to continue to be myself, keep standing up for what I believe in, and hopefully by doing this, other people will follow.
When you look back at the amazing list of Australians of the Year over the last 60 plus years, it's an extraordinary group of people. Musicians, athletes, scientists, Aboriginal leaders, advocates, environmentalists, rescuers. It's an amazing list of incredible Australians.
What if instead of spending their precious time and energy at war with their bodies, our young people were free to become the leaders, big thinkers and game changers the world needs more of right now? It's not our bodies that need to change, it's our perspective.
Our mission is 0 deaths from melanoma. To reach it, in addition to prevention, we need a targeted screening program and greater investment in research. This must be a national health priority.
Beyond melanoma and into the broader cancer field, more courage is needed to push treatment boundaries backed by science for the benefit of all cancer patients.
I'd like to now invite Tim Jarvis AM, our South Australian 2024 Australian of the Year, to the stage. Come up, Tim. Now, you would know Tim is an adventurer of many, he's had many different adventures over the years. Before you pass on the baton, Tim, what kind of adventure has the last year been for you as Australian of the Year?
Well, it's been a tremendous honour. It's been tiring. I'm only 28, look what he's done. No, look, it's been a tremendous honour. The highlights are almost too many to mention. I think the first thing, in all seriousness, is being nominated in the first place was a tremendous honour, particularly given the calibre of the other nominees. That was the first thing. Second thing, I think, for me, is the fact that my nomination was based on my environmental credentials. And I think, you know, testament to this state and the current leadership that we enjoy, that this state was the only state to put forward 2 nominees, the Young South Australian of the Year and me as South Australian of the Year, that actually stand up for the environment amongst all of the categories. Getting to know my fellow award recipients, Gianni, Rachel and Meredith, has been a great honour. Working on my reforestation project down in the Fleurieu Peninsula, teaching thousands of school kids about sustainability, thousands of adults, frankly, about sustainability, working together with the Nurrunjeri people, with the Kaurna people, trying to show what is possible. You're not going to save the world with one fork tree project, but you might just do it if you use it as a positive example as to what is possible. Working with federal government to get a marine sanctuary the size of Germany around Macquarie Island, probably my greatest achievement. That's 475,000 square kilometres of ocean that is protected in perpetuity. Setting the bar so high that we almost repeated the same feat with Heard and McDonald Island, Australia's other 2 subantarctic islands. We've still got about 250,000 square kilometres in the sanctuary, so not bad going. And working together with the government here, particularly with the Deputy Premier, on a Biodiversity Act, which I believe will not only be nation-leading, but will be world-leading, because I think South Australia has this incredible tradition of leading the way for others to follow. And in these uncertain times, it's never been more important that we show that kind of leadership. So thank you, South Australia.
And thank you, Tim. All right, for the last time this evening, encompassing inspiration, contribution and excellence, let's see our incredible nominees for this year's South Australian Australian of the Year Awards.
Professor Leah Bromfield is helping Australia rethink how we respond to child harm. Her work leading government reform and contributions to inquiries and royal commissions has directly changed laws, policies and practices. Leah's currently leading the design of a transformed child protection system for South Australia. It's reimagining current approaches with collaboration across different sectors and those with lived experience. Engineer Dr. Sarah Cannard is a dynamic leader in Australian space. It was her team who designed Ruva, Australia's very first lunar rover. She has a PhD in engineering and more than 16 years of defence, civil and space project experience. Sarah's passionate about expanding our homegrown space industry and energetically promotes STEM careers to young people. Grant Stevens has been Commissioner for the South Australian Police since 2015. He became well known during the pandemic thanks to his media appearances and firm but humorous leadership style. After his son was fatally hit by a car, Grant put a human face on skyrocketing road tolls and used the public attention to advocate for road safety and organ donation. Dr. Hannah Wardle is the founder of the Supportive Oncology Research Group. Working collaboratively with clinicians, scientists and advocates, her work combines laboratory and clinical research with the aim of preventing the long-term physical, emotional and economic disadvantages of cancer and its treatment. Recognised as a dynamic leader in her field, she's published more than 85 peer-reviewed papers and has received numerous awards.
Thank you, Premier, as you make your way to the stage for the final honour of presenting these remarkable finalists with their certificates. All right, let's bring them onto the stage. Professor Leah Bromfield. Dr. Sarah Cannard. Commissioner Grant Stevens, APM LEM. And Dr. Hannah Wardle. Please congratulate all of our wonderful nominees. All right, it's our final award for the night, the 2025 South Australian Australian of the Year. Our 2025 Australian of the Year for South Australia is Professor Leah Bromfield.
Congratulations on being this year's recipient, Leah.
Thank you.
What's going through your mind?
I need to get my breath.
Just tell a few jokes while she's
It's very, very unexpected. The other nominees are so amazing and I just feel so honoured.
Child protection, I can think of no more difficult space to work in. What was your initial motivation to get involved in this very important field, Leah?
The simple answer, it's by accident. I was young and had this great sense of social justice, and I wanted to help. I thought I could do that by being a clinical psychologist. And at uni, along the way, I discovered research, and I found that you could affect the lives of not just the people in, one person in the room, but hundreds, thousands, millions. And I stumbled into the world of child protection, and the need is so immense. 6 in 10 Australians have experienced at least one form of abuse or neglect. And how could you not want to be part of making that world better?
You work with the Royal Commission, you're now working with the Australian Centre for Child Protection, with the South Australian Government. You want to challenge some of the orthodoxies around child protection. That must be very difficult to do, but are you finding that you're having a real effect with your work, Leah?
We do have successes in the field of child protection. We don't talk about them often, but our kids are safer in institutions now because of what we do in the field of child protection. We've decreased the incidence of child sexual abuse that's perpetrated by adults. Those are amazing achievements, but it's not enough, because the reality is our system for protecting children, the child protection system, it's not working. It's not working for our kids, their families, or the people who serve within it. We need radical transformation.
I think you've just hit on one of the hardest things of your work and anyone who works in child protection. When we hear when it goes wrong, these are tragic, heartbreaking stories. We never hear when a child is saved and when it goes right, do we? And there must be so many that you know about that we don't. And that must doesn't make it difficult, but I guess you have an insight into what we don't.
Yes, I'm privileged to work in the field of child protection with people who come to work every day to try and make a difference. Those people, they inspire me, and they come to work despite the fact that you're more likely to be vilified than congratulated to work in the field of child protection. That's amazing.
The Australian of the Year gives a platform for people in fields like yours to have a conversation with the Australian people. What would you use this platform for?
For that radical change, because academics, governments, we can't do radical change alone. There is so much appetite to do it differently, but it actually needs everybody. Part of changing child protection actually means that our community has to come on board. We have to do things so differently, and while it sounds perverse, one of the ways that we are going to make child protection better is actually by making that system smaller, but that means we've all got to play a part.
Join me in congratulating our South Australian Australian of the Year, Professor Leah Bromfield. Congratulations, Leah. Well, what's next for our recipients? They become nominees of the National Award, along with all the other states and territory recipients. And the announcements, of course, is going to be made in Canberra on the 25th of January. I'd like to welcome to the stage someone who was lucky enough to meet with all our amazing nominees across the country and host the recipients in Canberra in January next year, Mr. John Foreman, OAM, Chair of the National Australia Day Council. Join us on the stage, John.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Premier, distinguished guests and friends, one and all. What a fantastic night this has been. Thank you so much to Jan and Michelle and the team who do such a brilliant job here in South Australia, not just tonight, but right throughout the year. It's an incredible organisation. Right from the beginning of tonight's presentation, when we saw a stage filled with pool noodles and garbage tins, I knew it was going to be something really special. And the word that keeps coming to mind for me is a word that the Premier mentioned, optimism. That has shone through tonight. Her Excellency spoke about how our nominees tonight speak to the character of South Australia. To all of the nominees, thank you so much for what you have done for us tonight and for your state and for your country. To Irfan and Sobia, our local heroes, for revolutionising how healthcare is provided in regional areas, to Amber for being such an incredible role model, our Young Australian of the Year for South Australia, to Charles for more than 50 years of dedication and always standing up for vulnerable people in our society, and of course to Professor Leah Bromfeld, our South Australian of the Year, for her incredible work in the area of child protection. But to all of our nominees, I was reflecting on what Tim said about how it was an honour just to be nominated. And I agree with that, but I think I'd go a step further and say really it's an honour for all of us as observers to hear your stories, to witness your journeys, for all of the nominations tonight to have had the opportunity to have heard why you were nominated to be here tonight. And when we're talking about optimism in a changing world, what we've been reminded of tonight is that compassion, kindness, and standing up for your neighbour are values that we honour as a society. You all as nominees have reminded us of that fact, and in so doing you've given us all a healthy dose of optimism today, and for that I thank you most sincerely.
Thank you so much, John. Wow, what a night. I'm so glad, Jules, I was not on the judging panel. Yes. How hard with those amazing nominees. So to all our 17 nominees here tonight, please remember that someone in your community thought you were amazing. You being here shows that it does not go unnoticed. And to everyone watching and listening, remember, you can nominate someone who inspires you at australianoftheyear.org.au and follow the nominate button. And finally, we'd like to acknowledge tonight the partners who made all of this possible. We've heard from our category partners, the Department of Health and Aged Care, Home Affairs, and the Australian Government's Office for Youth. We also thank our broadcast partner, the ABC. We thank them sincerely, don't we, Jules? Thank you to our media.
We're obliged to thank them.
Thank you to our media partner, Australian Community Media, reaching rural, regional and remote audiences around the country. And thank you to our accommodation partners, Crown Plaza Canberra, and to our cultural partner, the Australian National University, who produced these amazing trophies that our recipients have received tonight. Thank you to our exhibition partner, the National Motor Museum, the National Museum, I should say, of Australia. I don't know why the Motor Museum would be involved. And our legal partner, Minter Ellison. Please join me in thanking all of our partners for their vital support. Well, congratulations again to everyone involved. That is bringing to an end the formalities of tonight. Don't forget to tune into the national announcement live on the ABC the evening before Australia Day. Just like tonight, it's a truly beautiful and inspirational event. Congratulations again to our 4 recipients. Now, our 4 recipients, we will need to take some official photos with you, so your work is not yet done. Neither is yours, Your Excellency, and the Premier. We need you on board as well, the National Australia Day Council Board and the CEO of the Australia Day Council of South Australia. If you could please join us at the stage for the photos. You have to wait a little bit longer for your drinks and refreshments. For the rest of you, go and have a drink, have some refreshments. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Jules Schiller and I thank you for your attendance today.
Thank you very much.
Sonia and Jules, ABC Radio Adelaide. Have a great evening.
Bye.